Okay, if there was a historical Moses, where is this guy? I mean, where was he buried?
According to the biblical tradition, he ended up on the other side of the valley.
Moses is a great mystery and a very enigmatic figure in the Bible. For a long time, it has been like a friendly competition between archaeologists and historians. They all want to be the first to find the answer, because Moses is not just a character from an old story. He is one of the most important figures in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So it's not surprising at all. That's why the question is still alive today. Where was he really buried? But the conversation suddenly heated up when the well-known explorer Josh Gates made a claim. According to him, he discovered the long-lost tomb of Moses. He said it was hidden under an artificial stone structure, and because of that claim, it seemed like the world was shocked. Some people were happy, some were intrigued, and some said, wait, are we sure about that? Especially in religious communities. Because when it comes to Moses, it's not just history. For many, it's about faith. And it didn't end there. The story became even more talked about when Gates shared what he supposedly saw inside. It wasn't just a tomb. There was something there that was really eerie. The kind of thing that makes you wonder, what does this mean for people's faith? So if you thought this was just a simple discovery, it's not. This could possibly change how some people view history and religion. But before we start, don't forget to like this video. It's a big deal for us content creators. Thank you so much, and now let's get started. Now let's go back and see why this topic carries so much weight. Moses is known as the prophet used by God to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. If you think about it, with a life full of such big events, you would naturally expect his grave to be grand or to have a monument at a legendary level. But even though we have many accounts about what he did, one thing is always missing: the exact location of his tomb. And because of this, it's like the life of Moses became an unfinished story. Many people know how he lived, but the question is, where did he end? Because of this mystery, Josh Gates' journey to Mount Nebo began, a place that has long been associated with the final part of Moses' life. But before we go straight to what Gates claims he discovered, we first need to better understand the background of Moses. And why, even until now, are there still so many people who can't move on from this question? Moses is one of the most respected and well-known figures in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In the Hebrew Bible, he often appears in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, where he is portrayed as a prophet, leader, and lawgiver. This means he is not just a storyteller character. He was the one who led, gave direction, and became a symbol of change for the whole nation. He was said to have been born in Egypt around the late 14th century before Christ, a time when the Israelites were slaves. And even at this point, his life already had a dramatic beginning. The Pharaoh at that time ordered all newborn Hebrew boys to be killed. This was to prevent the Israelites from increasing in number, so Moses' mother was desperate. To save her son, she placed Moses in a basket and set him afloat on the river. Miraculously, Moses was found by the Pharaoh's daughter. She adopted him and raised him as her own son, giving him the name Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses grew up as a prince of Egypt. He enjoyed all the privileges of being royalty: a good education, a luxurious lifestyle, and a high position in society. But even with this kind of life, he never forgot his origins as a Hebrew. When he reached the age of 40, an event happened that completely changed the direction of his life. He witnessed an Egyptian overseer mercilessly beating a Hebrew slave. In a surge of emotion, Moses acted, killed the Egyptian, and hid the body. When Pharaoh found out about this, Moses immediately became the target of a death sentence. He had no choice but to flee from Egypt. He arrived in the land of Midian, where he met a priest named Jethro. There, his life was transformed. He married Jethro's daughter Zipporah and lived as a simple shepherd. For 4 decades, Moses took care of Jethro's sheep. His life was peaceful, far from the palace. But his story wasn't over yet. One day, while he was tending his flock on Mount Horeb, also known as Mount Sinai, he experienced an extraordinary event. He saw a bush that was burning with fire but was not consumed. From that burning bush, God spoke. Moses was commanded to return to Egypt and save the Israelites from severe slavery. And to prove that his mission was from God, he was given extraordinary abilities, signs, and powers that people could not explain. Moses returned to Egypt with his brother Aaron, who served as his spokesman. They faced the Pharaoh and asked him to free the Israelites, but the Pharaoh refused. So 10 severe plagues struck Egypt one after another. All of these were done by God through Moses. The Nile River turned into blood. Frogs, lice, and flies swarmed the land. The animals got sick. Painful boils broke out, and heavy hailstorms fell. Locusts destroyed the crops, and intense darkness covered the whole kingdom. The last and most severe plague was the death of the firstborn children. No one was spared, not even in Pharaoh's palace. To save their children, the Israelites marked their doors with the blood of the sacrificial lamb. This ritual became the beginning of Passover. Passover is a tradition that continues to be commemorated to this day. When Pharaoh's firstborn son died, he finally gave in. He allowed the Israelites to leave. This marked the beginning of the historic Exodus, around 1250 before Christ, under the leadership of Moses. The Israelites embarked on a dangerous journey toward the promised land of Canaan. But the trials were not yet over. The Pharaoh regretted his decision and chased them with his army. The Israelites were trapped between the Red Sea and the approaching Egyptian soldiers. At God's command, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and in a miracle the waters parted. A dry path appeared, and the Israelites were able to cross. After they had passed, the waters returned and swallowed the entire Egyptian army. After this, the Israelites arrived at Mount Sinai. There, Moses received the 10 Commandments from God, laws that were engraved on stone tablets. This included honoring one's parents and prohibitions against killing, stealing, and lying. The 10 Commandments became the foundation of law and morality for the Jews and influenced the conscience of countless generations. But the journey through the desert did not end right away. Because of the repeated disobedience and lack of faith of the Israelites, their journey lasted for 40 years. During this time, they were continually cared for. Every day, manna would fall from heaven as food. When they were thirsty, Moses would strike a rock and water would flow out. Moses became their leader, mediator, and teacher. He settled disputes and taught God's laws. He set up the tabernacle, a holy tent, where the people could meet with God. But even though Moses played a huge role in the history of Israel, his life comes to an end. Then, in a mystery, God showed him the promised land from the top of Mount Nebo, but he was not allowed to enter it. And until now, the final resting place of one of the greatest prophets in history remains a mystery. Moses died in the land of Moab, and until now, the exact location of his grave remains a secret. This mystery has long captivated the minds of scholars, theologians, and adventurers for many centuries. It adds another layer of mystery to the life of an extraordinary man. In modern times, interest in searching for the grave of Moses has been revived. One of those who was deeply fascinated by this mystery is Josh Gates, a veteran explorer and well-known television personality. He led an expedition to Mount Nebo, the place traditionally associated with the last days of Moses. Mount Nebo is located in present-day Jordan. From its summit, there is a wide view of the surroundings, a scene that matches the biblical account that from here, Moses saw the promised land. Even though there is still no solid archaeological evidence proving that Moses was indeed buried here, the historical and religious significance of this place cannot be denied. Mount Nebo continues to serve as a reminder of the depth of faith and the profound influence of Moses' leadership in the history of Israel. Josh Gates' expedition aims to unravel the secrets of this ancient place, hoping to find even the slightest clue or artifact that could shed light on the final chapter of Moses' life. But the search for Moses' tomb is not just about archaeology. It is also a spiritual journey. It's proof of the power of his story, a story that has echoed for millennia and continues to inspire countless people. From his miraculous rescue as a baby to leading the Israelites out of Egypt and receiving the Ten Commandments, the life of Moses is like a tapestry woven with faith, courage, and unwavering obedience to God. And the mystery of his final resting place only adds to the weight of his legacy, a reminder that history does not always have clear answers, and that faith has the power to transcend time and place. As explorers like Josh Gates continue their search, the legacy of Moses remains alive and meaningful, challenging each generation to embrace the values he lived by: faith, leadership, and perseverance. After leading the Israelites for 40 years through the harsh desert, Moses, the revered prophet, ascended the windy and high summit of Mount Nebo. From that place, God showed him a breathtaking view of the Promised Land, a land described as flowing with milk and honey. But because of a past mistake at the waters of Meribah, where Moses struck the rock instead of speaking to it as God commanded, he was not allowed to enter that land. According to the Bible, Moses died on Mount Nebo, and in a mysterious event, his body was buried by God himself in a place that has never been revealed. It is estimated that this happened around 1271 before Christ, a moment that marked the end of an era and the beginning of a mystery that continues to intrigue the minds of people. Although Mount Nebo has long been considered the final resting place of Moses, new clues have emerged that cast doubt on this belief. According to Josh Gates' investigations, there are indications from ancient texts and local stories that point to other possible locations, a place closer to the Sea of Galilee. In early 2018, Josh Gates and his team began an ambitious expedition to try to solve the long-standing mystery about Moses. They brought with them a variety of historical documents, detailed maps, and modern technology. Their target was the submerged sites near the Sea of Galilee, hoping to find artifacts or structures connected to the mysterious prophet. The team's equipment was no joke. They used satellite imagery, mapping software, ground-penetrating radar, drones, and 3D scanning technology. With the help of satellite images, they identified landforms and bodies of water that matched the descriptions in ancient texts. The mapping software helped create accurate underwater maps. Ground-penetrating radar was one of their most important tools. Because it can look beneath the lake bed without disturbing the area, it made it possible to search for hidden chambers or structures without damaging the possible archaeological site. Up to now, there is still no definite proof that the actual tomb of Moses has been found. But with every expedition, new information and new possibilities emerge. The team's thorough and careful work continues to fuel the search for one of the most fascinating mysteries in history. A search that combines ancient mysteries and modern technology. In October 2018, the team returned once again, this time directly beneath the waters of the Sea of Galilee. They used advanced side-scan sonar and multi-beam sonar to map the lake bed in detail and look for anything unusual. And this is where their perseverance paid off. They discovered a submerged circular stone monument, a dolmen built from large basalt stones. This structure is impressive in size. It has a diameter of about 230 feet and a height of 32 feet. Because dolmens are often associated with ancient burial practices, this immediately brought a sense of excitement to the whole team. It was said that this could possibly have a connection to Moses, or perhaps it holds an important clue about his final resting place. They carefully began examining the dolmen. Little by little, they removed the thick mud and sediment that had accumulated over many millennia. This process took several weeks and required extreme caution to avoid damaging the ancient stones. As the examination continued, various artifacts gradually emerged from underwater, pieces of pottery and ancient tools. These are clear evidence that the place is very old. Some of the artifacts were subjected to carbon dating, and it was found that some of them date back to around 3,200 years ago, a period that matches the estimated time of Moses' life. The mystery deepened even more. However, the operation was not easy. The murky water makes visibility difficult. There are strong currents, and the depth of the place adds to it. All of these became serious challenges. To better understand the importance of the dolmen, they consulted well-known experts in ancient history and archaeology. They carefully studied the recovered pots and tools. They examined the style, craftsmanship, and materials to determine their age and origin. At the same time, they also revisited ancient texts and local legends. Some stories refer to sunken cities or structures in the region. But despite these legends, there is no direct mention of Moses or the dolmen itself. Even though there is no solid evidence directly linking the dolmen to Moses, what was discovered added a new level of mystery to the question of his final resting place. By early 2019, Josh Gates and his team completed a thorough mapping of the entire structure. They gathered a huge amount of data, from exact measurements, clear photographs, to detailed three-dimensional models. Even though there is still no definite answer as to whether this is really the tomb of Moses, one thing is clear. Their work has opened a new direction in the ongoing search. What they did served as a solid foundation that future explorers and researchers can build upon. It is also noteworthy that the mystery of Moses' final resting place is not just a matter of Christianity. Different religions have their own beliefs and traditions about where he might have been buried. Because of this, the search remains alive and exciting, a mystery that continues to connect faith, history, and culture. In Islamic tradition, there is a place called Nabi Musa, located in the Judean desert near the Dead Sea. For many Muslims, this is considered the tomb of Moses, known as Musa in Arabic. In Islam, Musa is one of the most important prophets. He is frequently mentioned in the Quran and is central to many teachings about faith, perseverance, and God's guidance. His story continues to give strength and inspiration to Muslims all over the world. Nabi Musa has a long history as a place of pilgrimage and devotion. Its association with Moses dates back to the medieval Islamic period. When Sultan Baybars, a well-known Mamluk ruler, built a shrine and mosque in honor of the Prophet, one of the most important traditions in Nabi Musa is the annual pilgrimage called the Nabi Musa Festival. This ancient celebration coincides with the commemoration of Laylat al-Miraj, the night of the Prophet Muhammad's journey and ascension to heaven. Thousands of Muslims from different places gathered to participate in religious ceremonies, prayers, and celebrations. The pilgrimage begins in Jerusalem and ends at Nabi Musa, where the pilgrims pay their respects and ask for blessings. The Nabi Musa complex is a clear example of Islamic architecture and cultural heritage. It consists of various buildings, including a mosque, a shrine, and accommodations for pilgrims. The design of the structures showcases the style of the medieval period with intricate and detailed decorations. The mosque serves as the center of worship, while the shrine, believed to be the burial place of Moses, is the most sacred part of the site. Over the centuries, it has been repeatedly expanded and renovated by various Islamic authorities to preserve its condition for future generations. The continuous care for Nabi Musa shows the deep appreciation of Muslims for this place as a symbol of faith, history, and culture. It is a sacred space where people can reflect, pray, and celebrate their shared heritage. But Nabi Musa is just one of the many places believed to be the final resting place of Moses, and our journey does not end here. It is traditionally believed that Jebel Harun is the place where Aaron, the brother of Moses, was buried. But over time, there have also been beliefs and stories that connect this mountain to Moses himself. According to stories in the Bible, this is where Aaron died and was buried, and Mount Aaron and Jebel Harun are often considered to be the same place. Although the Bible does not explicitly state that Moses was buried here, there are some interpretations and traditions that suggest this mountain may have a deeper connection to his final days. Because of this, Jebel Harun holds great significance in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is a place of pilgrimage and quiet reflection for believers from different religions. The study of Jebel Harun and its possible connection to Moses is not focused on just one aspect. It combines biblical accounts, religious traditions, archaeological findings, and the role of the mountain in different faiths. And even though the exact burial place of Moses remains a mystery, the search continues because of the deep respect and admiration for his legacy. In the Old Testament, especially in the book of Numbers, the journey of Moses and Aaron in the desert is clearly described. After leaving Egypt, the Israelites traveled for 40 years. During this time, Moses received the 10 Commandments and other laws from God at Mount Sinai. As they approached the land of Canaan, the Promised Land, an important event took place near Mount Aaron. According to the account in Numbers chapter 20, God commanded Moses and Aaron to gather all of Israel. Here, God revealed that Aaron would die because of a previous disobedience to his command. Together with Moses and Aaron's son Eleazar, Aaron went up the mountain. There, he passed away. Moses and Eleazar came down without Aaron. This moment marked the end of Aaron's leadership as high priest and leader of the tribe of Levi. The place of Aaron's death has long been associated with Jebel Harun, a belief that has been maintained and reinforced by Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions for many centuries. For Jewish scholars and rabbis, it is clear that Aaron's final resting place is at Jebel Harun. This is supported by the biblical account in which Moses himself brought Aaron and witnessed his passing. The early Christian pilgrims and scholars also held the same belief. Based on the biblical accounts, they also recognized Jebel Harun as Mount Aaron, an important place connected to the story of Moses and Aaron. This belief has been passed down for many centuries through Christian teachings and writings. In Islam, Jebel Harun is also held in high regard. Muslims believe that Aaron was buried here, known as Harun in Arabic. It is a sacred place visited by pilgrims to pray and pay respects to a revered prophet. Islamic scholars and historians have carefully documented the significance of Jebel Harun in the history and religious life of Muslims. Because of this, the unity of the three faiths in recognizing the mountain is clear. It is a place with profound spiritual and historical significance. The connection of Jebel Harun to Aaron and Moses adds more mystery to the ongoing search for the truth about their final days. Now let's go back to the story according to the Bible itself. According to the Old Testament book of Numbers, after leaving Egypt, the Israelites traveled in the desert for 40 years. During this time, God continued to guide Moses as the leader, mediator, and teacher of his laws. In Numbers chapter 21, of the most important moments in their journey took place. God commanded Moses to gather Israel and informed him that Aaron would soon die. Because of their previous shortcomings, Aaron would no longer be allowed to enter the Promised Land. Moses, Aaron, and Eleazar went up the mountain, and there Aaron passed away. Moses and Eleazar came down without their brother and father. This mountain continues to be known as Jebel Harun. It is an identity preserved by Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions up to the present. In the end, the search for truth does not rely solely on the words of man. Through careful study of the Holy Scriptures, many believe that God Himself will reveal the truth at the right time. As the journey of faith continues, the story of Moses and Aaron remains alive. not only as history, but also as a reminder of obedience, faith, and trust in God, even in the midst of mystery.